Wowzers! An update to the Watcher ARG has happened, like 5 days ago. I'm a bit late to this one. This part of the ARG is structured similarly to the last part, and just like the last part, I'll cover the images in chronological order, and then talk about the secret video, and the even secreter video after that. Now I'm not gonna lie, these images are like not actually that interesting at all. They just show parts of coral caves which are identical to the version that's on the workshop, so there's actually basically no new content here. This is the coral cave screen underwater. This one is a cave made out of coral, I think. This screen is to the right of the previous screen, and this one shows Watcher in the coral tunnels. Now we can glean some nuggets of information from what was removed from these screenshots, as the room depicted in the fourth image usually contains polywogs, which were present in the workshop version of Coral Caves. Without them, the room feels way more empty, and I do wonder if they're going to replace them in some way in Coral Caves, or are they just going to stick like blue lizards in their place, since all the custom creatures from the workshop versions of these mods have been gutted. Now the marginally bigger nugget of information we can get from removed information is actually that 2 of these screenshots are not the original versions. Here are the originals. Notice anything different? The first 2 versions of these images actually had a layer 4, although this was caused by a bug and not intentional, as stated by Buddy, who is the community manager of Acapara. So the bug was likely patched and their image retaken to rectify this mistake. This was likely the cause of that weird sort of structure in the background you can see in one of the Coral Cave's earlier images. But there it was far less noticeable than in these 2 cases. Anyway, the structures featured in the layer 4 are actually very important, since they look identical to the ones found in Aether Ridge. Especially this big cylindrical tower with a fence on top, like this is identical to the one found in Aether Ridge. So with Aether Ridge being on the horizon of Coral Caves, the regions are likely connected by a gate. This does make sense as they do connect in the workshop versions, at least in 1.5. If the connections in the workshop versions of these regions are still in the Watcher versions, that could mean that Coral Caves connects to Stormy Coast as well. But that's just some light speculation. Now to find the hidden video. Eagle-eyed people may notice there's 4 corners of a QR code hidden in each of the images. But fun fact, the first corner was the only thing needed to actually find the link, as the rest of the data on the QR code could be brute forced with code, so a program was able to find the link early. It was made by Alderus, who I've hit with a car in Lethal Company before. Alderus! Alleged insurance fraud aside, Buddy actually rewarded the community for finding the link early, since the 3 other images didn't even come out yet. We got to see some unused art of Artificer climbing the wall, which was meant to be used for a scrapped anniversary update, which later became the 1.19.15 update, much less cooler sounding than the anniversary update. Anyway, back to the QR code. Combining all the corners or brute forcing it leads to this YouTube link, called rwsandcreature.mp4, which I'll now play. Now there's 2 big nuggets, 2 big chicken nuggets of information. I don't know why I'm going with the nugget theme, but there's 2 big nuggets of information that we can glean from this video. The first being the obvious new creature, the titular sand creature. We've already seen them a couple of times before, so it's not as exciting as the previous one, found through this ARG. But this is confirmation that these black moving things are actually creatures, and not part of the level itself. As for their gimmick or what they do, I have 0 clue. My best guess is there's some sort of wormgrass-like thing where they'll drag the player down if they step on them, and the player could use the drill crabs to sort of get over them if they can be ridden. They could also leap out of the sand and munch the player, but that's sort of a bit generic in terms of video game stuff. Like big carnivorous sandworm. Ooh, Frank Herbert's June, yeah, we get it. I've seen it a dozen times, come on. The second big piece of information we can get from this video is something I've seen no one mention. We've actually seen this exact screen before in the Ripple trailer, and if we cross-reference the 2 versions of this room, we can see that the Sand Creature ARG video has lower sand dunes than the one in the Ripple trailer. Now this could be chalked up to the room being re-dev-tooled or redone, with the sand dune changing in altitude as a result, as the Watcher is still in active development. Or the way more interesting theory is that the sand dunes can actually move over the course of time, which would make sense as they do this in real life. This could just be a minor ambient thing, since the altitude doesn't actually change that much, only really being noticeable on the left side of the screen. But it could also be a gameplay mechanic, since the worms aren't present in the Watcher trailer version of the room. They were revealed later in the trailer, so I doubt it's spoiler reasons. So maybe when the sand is slightly lower, the worms actually get exposed and become a threat or a challenge to overcome. In the description of this video there is a garbled load of characters. Deciphering this using a keyword cipher with the key consider gives us the text explore the ripple. Using the command $explore the ripple in the Wind Chimes ARG server unlocks a new channel. The channel is called 1 and contains a single video, strange circles rotating round and round. I'm not going to play the whole video here, because it is pretty boring, and people have been trying to speculate about what this thing is, but nothing definitive has come up yet. Commenters on the last video said that there was at least 3 hidden channels, labelled 1, 2 and 3, plus some debug ones likely testing if the commands for the ARG work. This means that there is at least 2 other channels waiting to be uncovered in this ARG. Maybe they all contain disco balls that can be combined and solved when added all together. A bit of interesting information is that we've seen a disco ball before, hidden in Wind Chimes 3. Maybe the rotations and topography of this disco ball is different from the one we just uncovered, but I'm not smart nor patient enough to investigate that. Anyway, that's it for Watcher News. See you in the next bit of the ARG, and Merry Christmas!